Welcome back to Daybreak. You're watching Citizen TV and it's time for News Review. It's about 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. I'm joined by Chris Omalo, Dr. Chris Omalo, the Member of Parliament for Kiminini. Thank you so much for coming. And Member of Parliament for Mathare, Anthony Oluoch. You're still expecting Irungu Kangata, the Senator for Muranga, to join us. But be it as it may, we will start. And I think the biggest story that I want us to begin with is the walkout from the Bomet meeting which President Kenyatta was presiding. And I think we have some sound bites of the leaders who walked out and went on to Bomet town to speak out their, what you call them, frustrations. Let's just listen in before we start.
Hapo zamani tulikuwa tunaambiwa wave. Siku hizi hata hatuonekani, tuko wananchi wa Bomet.
Kuanzia leo wacha mtu asikia kwamba sisi tena sio wale viongozi wa kusukumwa hapa na pale. Na imetosha. Ndiposa tumechukua hii nafasi tuweze kuongea na nyinyi.
Lakini kama viongozi hatukupatiwa nafasi ya kuongea maneno yetu. Maneno ya Mau tulikuwa nataka tuongee juu yake hapa leo. Hata maneno ya kuitwa mamba tulikuwa nataka kuongea.
2022
na imetosha. Ndiposa tumechukua hii nafasi tuweze kuongea na nyinyi, tuwaambie nyinyi ya kwamba sisi kama viongozi hatujakuja kutaka kuongea na president leo.
Well, quite heated. The leaders were walking out and complaining that they were not given an opportunity. But we have that story on Daily Nation. MPs storm out of Uhuru's rally, of course, protesting Laboso's failure to give them a chance to speak or wave at the crowd. Legislators march out and hold a rival meeting nearby, declaring war on the Bomet governor. Let's see what the Standard has to say about that story. Well, the Standard did not give it prominence. Instead, on page 8 of the Standard, they say Bomet MPs walk out on Uhuru. Leaders say decision to ignore their presence was in bad faith and meant to block them from airing residents' grievances. And then there's still another one on the Standard, puzzle of Ruto. Well, come on. Right, so
Western Hotel.
Those are the two stories so far that we have seen on the Daily Nation and the Standard. And the question that I want to ask you, listen to the leaders speaking angrily about their denial to speak. They are saying that things have changed during the campaigns. At least they were given an opportunity to wave at the crowd. Now they are not even being seen or speaking at events. What is happening in the rift?
Well, things are no longer holding, and I think now it can be said very clearly that the Jubilee Party is in big problems. I think there was a temporary reprieve during a time when Uhuru, I think, rode with William Ruto to Harambee in the car and appeared to calm the storm. And I think perhaps they picked the wrong cue and thought that let's now corner the president in Kericho and get him to state with no uncertain terms. Secondly, I think they thought that they would use the opportunity to say that now that Raila is been appointed, he no longer should be in active politics. And I think they just completely missed the point. The president is the president. He has a lot of intelligence. And if indeed he found out that this opportunity was going to be misused and issues were going to be brought with, they could otherwise ventilate in-house. Because remember, these are some members of parliament. They have occasional, if not very often, meetings with the head of state. And they can be able to ask for a meeting specifically to address issues Mau, issues succession, and other things they could bring out. You do not use an opportunity like this to try and embarrass the president. So I think it was unfortunate, and perhaps this may be beginning of a very steep spiral down the hill.
So, Chris Omalo, this is all politics, but what should we read into it? Is it a genuine concern that they're not being given an opportunity to address at a presidential event, or is it, or do they have some underlying issues that they want dealt with? They just don't have a way out.
This is an indicator to show that in Jubilee, the center is not holding. Things are falling apart. And there's so much into this. And maybe if I comment to that, let me also register my disappointment as one of the leaders from the Western region when last time His Excellency the President was actually in Kakamega, there was a very big outcry from the local leadership that the local leaders were not even given an opportunity to say anything. And our local leaders were there. We expected at least Musalia Mudavadi and Honorable Moses Wetangula to say something. And this is because a precedent had been set. A precedent had been set when they were in Machakos. Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka had been given an opportunity to say something. When we were in Meru, where I was myself personally, Kiraitu Murungi and Munya was given a chance to say something. So the local leadership also expected that at least our leaders should have said something. I didn't want to say anything because when you look at the ranking of politicians, leadership in Western, I'm not yet up there. So I wouldn't have bothered much. But now, let me say something about presidential functions. When there's a presidential function, State House is the one in charge. For the sake of Bomet, Governor Laboso, you are just there as an MC. You can't just come and introduce any other guest to speak if State House has not given an approval. The sitting arrangement, the order of the program, everything is taken over by State House. So you as a governor, you are just there as a host, and you are given an opportunity to invite the guests. So I'll advise my colleagues, actually, it was beyond Laboso's authority or powers to do that. But now, this issue of storming out, it's not just about being given an opportunity to say something. It is more, and it's to do with the succession in 2022. Remember, Honorable Tonui, who is a secretary, I think, for Kupet, he's doing his second term. He mentioned they wanted to bring their grievances to the president. One was Mau, the issue of Mau. And these people who are in Mau who are being evicted, they're Kipsigis. These honorable members, they represent the Kipsigis. Two, they've talked of the succession 2022. The honorable member of Sisi Kwa Sisi party, that Chama cha Mashinani, he said something in Kalenjin. And because I come from Rift Valley, I understand a bit of Kalenjin. He mentioned something about 2022 succession. So, and the president, as my colleague says it, had an intelligence. Because the previous day, he was in Nandi. What happened in Nandi? There was something that the president maybe didn't expect. He was put on parade there that he must declare his support for William Ruto. I listened keenly. I never had any commitment from His Excellency the President that 2022 he's going to support William Ruto. But the yesterday's paper, which was misleading, Nation newspaper, actually it was misleading. It said that the President had said their agreement, whatever it is intact, but the President was non-committal. And the same question was coming in Bomet. So the intelligence, when they heard about this, I think that's how they frustrated.
The president, in his speech, he was questioning the likes of Murkomen why they believe the stories they read on newspaper instead of believing what is on paper agreed.
Absolutely, but what I expect the president to have done, because some of us who were in NASA, those days Jubilee used to move around and say, 10 years for Uhuru and 10 years for Ruto. Now that Uhuru has gotten his 10 years, we're not seeing him advocating for the 10 years for Ruto. I think things have changed, and I don't see any commitment from the president.
I'll come back to that. Let me introduce Senator for Muranga and also the Deputy Chief Whip of the Jubilee Party at the Senate, Irungo Kangata. Thank you so much for joining us. And we were just discussing about this issue of the walkout that is on the two dailies, that is the Standard and the Daily Nation. What is the problem in the Rift, and especially with this situation that we see in Bomet, these members of parliament and a senator walking out, indicating that they're not given an opportunity to speak at a presidential event? First of all, how important is it to speak at a presidential event?
Well, the problem has nothing to do with the president, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. It has everything to do with the local politics. You can see from the reports that they have nothing against Uhuru Kenyatta. Their beef is with the governor for Bomet, Dr. Laboso. So to me, I think Dr. Laboso ought to have recognized them. To me, I foresee trouble for her. When you have 7 members of parliament continuously campaigning you, that can be quite problematic. So therefore, I think the problem is not on Uhuru. Of course, every politician...
But there's significance in walking out of a presidential function which he's attending. You can't ignore that.
Yes, but you can see their grievances have nothing to do with the president. They are all directed against the governor. Of course, it is reported. We cannot speculate. You have to go as per the facts, what have been reported in the newspaper.
And the fact is they walked out on Uhuru.
No, they walked out against the governor.
Okay.
In fact,
Put
you
it
can see...
They walked out of an event that was being attended by the president.
Yes, I agree.
Ordinarily, they wouldn't.
Yes, I agree, but you can see, as per the report in the newspaper, the grievances had nothing to do with Uhuru. They are clearly unhappy with the governor for failing to recognize them. You know what happens in every presidential event? One, so many people attend. So every politician wants to speak so that he gets what we call bonga points.
Not really.
Of course, it goes without saying. So you see. To mobilize about 5,000 people will come to see the president is a very tedious work for any politician. So, and a politician, to him, he only works by talking, right? And he can only talk when he sees a huge crowd. So now, these are people who have been mobilized by the president. They have come to a certain political ground. And therefore, a politician, when he sees those people, he says, surely, if I'm given 1 or 2 minutes, I will shine. So when they fail to get that chance, which chance, by the way, is supposed to be given by the governor, then they have an issue with the government.
Senator Kang'ata, I don't know that we have those pictures again so that we look at the mass walkout by these leaders. And the question I want to ask to all of you, you said that there are grievances. There's the Mau issue. There's the question of 2022 succession. Is it not possible to handle these matters with the president himself, book an appointment with him, go and discuss those matters, instead of doing such kind of thing? Because even if you walk out, you've not been given an opportunity to speak. You're not campaigning to be elected. You're already in office.
Well, I wanted to weigh in this. You know, they usually say that the religion is an opiate or an opium of the people. For politicians, their opium is the crowd. So there is a bit of it which is understandable, only that I think they could have ventilated it differently. Like they say, if their beef was with the governor, they could have respected the president, waited out until the functions were over, and then found a parallel rally to do, protestations, whatever it is they could do. But I think it is very clear, Senator, that the walkout was on the president. When the deputy president was handed the microphone, I think that's on paragraph 2 of page 5, he said as soon as Laboso handed the microphone to the deputy president, they walked out. That was not Laboso's rally. If you walk out, you don't walk out on Laboso. You walked out on the president. And then further on, you can see there was they also skipped the Lake Region Bloc Conference. Who was opening that? Again, it was President Uhuru Kenyatta. The message that will come out there, really, in spite of the underlying politics, the local politics, is that they walked out on the president himself. So I think that this could have been handled differently. But on the other hand, you need to understand that politicians, if Raila came to my constituency or somewhere where I was not given an opportunity to speak, I would understandably feel agitated. But I know for sure that I would not disrespect him by walking out.
Yes, can I maybe do a small intervention? Look at this other paragraph, which is in the middle of this story. And I'm going to read out for the reader, for the viewer. The woman representative, Joyce Correll, pointed to a rocky road ahead for Mrs. Laboso. She's quoted, "The governor has started a war she cannot finish. The gloves are off. We will take this war to her doorstep." End of quote. So the point is, it has nothing to do with Uhuru. Of course, look at this crowd. Look at this crowd. The president, Uhuru Kenyatta, addressing residents and Bomet University College students.
We can read further. You know, Senator is reading selectively. I want to take you to the last paragraph. When Dr. Laboso was contacted, she said she was not to blame for the hitch, as she was not in charge of the presidential program. The program was tight right from start with the president presiding over 3 functions. And I'm saying this because I was in Kakamega, and you know, unlike us, the people of Mlembe, we do things in a peaceful manner. We did not walk out on the president, despite the fact that our local leaders were not even recognized. This protest was actually with the president. He was the peak of everything. And where there's a presidential function, normally, State House is the one in charge. Laboso here, She was just inviting, as the host governor, she was inviting them. And here the deputy president was given an opportunity because he was the one to invite the president. So the MP's message was directed to the president. And there were three critical things here. We were talking about the succession. And because I understand a bit of Kalenjin, maybe Honorable Kangata could not understand. So the Honorable member of Chepalungu, I think, who mentioned something there, I could understand he's talking about 2022 succession. They are talking about the Mau. The issue of Mau, the backstops are the president. You heard what Murkomen had said last time. So these Kipsigis members of parliament had their grievances, and the only person to have addressed them was His Excellency the President. But having been in Nandi the previous day,
but still, Dr. Chris, you're talking about 2022 succession. That succession is supposed to benefit the Deputy President, who is at that function. Why still work out on him?
Now, the issue is this. If you watched when the President was in Nandi, the people were very clear. In 2022 politics, there are two critical people. This is Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto. The people in the camp of Ruto feel that the president is shortchanging them. They wanted an assurance that you spoke of Jubilee 20 years rule. 10 years for Uhuru, 10 years for Ruto. But as time go by, the president is changing. They are not seeing that commitment from the president to assure them about the 2022 succession that their son will occupy State House. That's why they are saying they are being called Mamba.
Senator, is it true that the president is shortchanging the DP in the succession plan?
From the body language?
No, of course. The president has given a clear message. He says that he intends to honor that pledge. But also, most importantly, maybe to go back to the main issue, I can tell you there has been a lot of agitation by members of parliament whenever there is a presidential function, because they rarely get a chance to speak. By the way, this issue has nothing to do with the Rift Valley. I can give also a testimony when the president last time came to Murang'a during the burial of the famous musician Joseph Kamaro. I was not there, but somebody gave me that information that the members of parliament expected to be given a chance to talk. And therefore, I think it is something that maybe the people who handle protocol, who needs probably to address that issue, where members of parliament are not given a chance even to speak one or two words. Of course, I know of several instances where once you give a member of parliament a microphone, he extends, and therefore the president is unable to attend several other rallies. More often than not, his schedule tends to be quite tight. Be that as it may, I know if you fail to give a politician that platform, he will not be happy. So therefore, in a sense, the agitation had nothing to do with Uhuru. No, of course, everyone has, to the best of my knowledge, every politician wants to be near the president. Be that as it may, the issue has something to do with the governor. To them, they thought governor would have fixed them and probably give them a certain slot to speak to the people.